Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing on with Quote Love Unquote by New Amsterdam, and we are up to chapter 13. He's still riding high on adrenaline a few hours later when Present Mike throws an arm around Kirishima's shoulders and pulls him close. "Who do you think you are, kid?" Yamada demands, still flushed from his own performance. His golden blonde hair is pulled back into its usual improbable style, but he's shed the leather jacket for a plain black t-shirt. "Why didn't I know you had pipes like that, huh?" Sorry? Kirishima blinks into the bright lights, the sheer volume of Yamada's voice. Yamada rolls his eyes, blinking at the ceiling. "And you're not even cocky about it. If I wasn't already a star, I'd be sizing you up as a rival." If they were anywhere close to the same league, Kirishima wouldn't even be in Yamada's weight class. Yamada has to know that, and is probably just being nice. Kirishima immediately throws his hands up in front of his face. "It's not like that, Yamada-san. I'm not a singer. I was just trying to keep the performance going. Anyway, that's Ashido-san's job." Yamada snorts, with no patience for Kirishima's deflections. "No one's doubting her. Hell, you've been opening for me for months. You think I don't know she can sing? But the two of you together, that was something else, kid. You'd be smart not to let it go so quickly." Kirishima is sure that his face is as red as his hair. He really doesn't know what possessed him to sing tonight. Or he does. He doesn't want to face those emotions so directly. Yamada had invited them back to his penthouse apartment for an after-party of sorts. That was his last show in residence at the arena and Riot's last time opening for him. Some executives from the label are around, along with everyone who'd been in the VIP box earlier in the evening. Kirishima gulps, remembering that last detail. The sitting room is massive, hardwood floors and glass walls that look out over the lights of the city. People are milling about with drinks, chatting and dancing, and looking out onto the city. Kirishima barely has time to register all their faces as Yamada tugs him across the room. There's a sunken section of the room where a handful of people are sitting on sleek leather couches. Kirishima recognizes a few familiar faces before Yamada tugs him in front of a man who's draped over the couch like he might fall asleep on it at any moment. He's tall, with wan-looking skin and eyes surrounded by deep bags. His hair is dark, jaggedly cut and falling over his forehead and around his shoulders. He's dressed all in black, but instead of put together, he seems careless, his clothes baggy, his face dotted with stubble. On the couch across from him are Bakugou and Sero. Bakugou has his arms crossed over his chest, brow furrowed as he broods. Sero, on the other hand, is waving his arms excitedly as he chatters to the tired-looking man. In that moment, a surge of harsh anger rises through Kirishima. Why does Sero look so happy? Doesn't he know what he'd done to Ashido? How bad she feels because of him? Why should he get to feel happy when she doesn't? As though sensing Kirishima's thoughts, or maybe just spotting his glare, Sero looks up and his cheery expression disappears for a moment, replaced by a frown and the flash of something like guilt in his eyes. And immediately Kirishima regrets, because Sero is also his friend, and this is too complicated. He doesn't know if he's supposed to pick a side, or how he's supposed to feel about Sero when he only has Ashido's perspective on the story. "Shota!" Yamada says, breaking through Kirishima's thoughts. "There you are!" The tired-looking man looks up at Yamada and blinks like he senses a headache coming on. "I haven't moved," he says in a deep, slow voice. "You're the one flitting about like a hummingbird." "I wanted you to meet all the kids," Yamada says excitedly. "This is Kirishima." Kirishima steps forward, prepared to introduce himself, but the man, Shota, just sighs. "I know who he is." he says, waving a vague hand at Bakugou. And it should be impossible, but Bakugou's cheeks stain a furious red as the man gestures at him. Then he jerks his chin up and says, "Obviously, he's my boyfriend. Why else would I be here?" His words are sullen, impatient, but they send sparks through Kirishima's veins. Has Bakugou ever claimed him so readily before? Usually it's Kirishima who steps in to keep their cover story going. "Kirishima!" Sero cuts in, smooth and professional like the agent he is. "This is Aizawa Shota-san. He's an incredible director from Eraserhead Films." "He's an incredible director when he isn't firing every single actor off his set." Yamada sneers, elbowing Aizawa in the side. Aizawa grimaces at him. Kirishima looks away from Aizawa only to meet Bakugou's glare. His eyes are burning with something that Kirishima can't name, but they look like hot coals. He's definitely not happy. "Hey," Kirishima says, moving towards Bakugou, "I really need to talk to you." Before Bakugou can answer, Sero steps between them. He shrugs apologetically. "Sorry, Kirishima, but we actually really need to finish this conversation." He gestures at Aizawa, who's still trading barbs with Yamada. "Shota!" Yamada is saying. "What did you think of my show, huh?" Aizawa rolls his eyes. "Was it different than the last dozen?" he asks blatantly. Yamada lets out a sound like a boiling kettle, but Aizawa just shrugs. "My ears aren't bleeding, I suppose." Sero is raising his hand like he's waiting for Aizawa to call on him, or at least return to their conversation. But before he does, Aizawa turns to Kirishima. "You got quite the reaction tonight," he says, assessment in his dark eyes. "Not bad." For some reason, the simple words are truer praise than the platitudes Kirishima's gotten from others tonight. He smiles brightly, bobbing a half bow in Aizawa's direction. Thank you." Aizawa turns towards Sero and Bakugou. "Where were we?" Sero starts talking at a mile a minute, and Kirishima can barely follow what he said. He knows a dismissal when he sees one, and he edges around Yamada and heads back into the crowd before he can be pulled in any more directions. Time passes. On the other side of the room, Kirishima spots Amajiki Tamaki. He's dressed as usual, in dark jeans and a baggy jacket, metallic piercings glinting from his face. There's an air of usual cool around him that Kirishima wishes he had. Amajiki slumps forward in his seat, hands folded in his lap as he talks to Kayama Nemori. She's another matter entirely. The head of Midnight Records is in a slinky black dress, straddling the line between cocktail and casual. Her dark hair is loose down her back, and she balances a flute of bubbling champagne in one hand as she's murmuring something to Amajiki. He looks up at her, cheeks flushing, and she throws back her head and laughs. She reaches out a free hand to pat him consolingly on the shoulder. She looks up and makes eye contact with Kirishima. "Just the person I wanted to see," she calls out, gesturing him over. Kirishima walks toward them. He's been wearing the same smile all night, genuinely happy in some respects, but bashful. He can feel a dozen pairs of eyes on him, and when Kayama's dark blue eyes focus on him, she looks like the cat that's just eaten the canary. Under her gaze, Kirishima feels like the second course. "I knew the brash Kirishima-kun I'd met so long ago was in there somewhere," she says brightly, poking Kirishima square in the chest with one red lacquered nail. "But even I didn't see such a spontaneous performance coming. Youth." She takes a long sip of her champagne. I mean, it wasn't planned," Kirishima sputters, unsure of how to explain himself. There's some part of him that's inordinately pleased that people honestly seem to have enjoyed his performance. But still, there's a voice in the back of his mind, wondering how could that possibly be the case. He's not the star of this band, and he certainly didn't want to wrestle the spotlight away from Ashido. He wanted to help her, help the band hold things together. He wasn't thinking of what would come after. Of course it wasn't, Kayama said, but it was perfect. That's part of why you're such an asset, Kirishima-kun. You're very genuine, even your love story. All the drama with that boyfriend of yours, everyone can tell that's your real self, even when you're in the tabloids. We couldn't have constructed better press for you. A heavy stone drops to the bottom of Kirishima's gut. He's not genuine at all, is he? He's never wanted to deceive anyone in his entire life. But somehow, he's caught in a lie so complicated that Kayama thinks it's the real thing. But it's not quite fake either, is it? After all, what he feels for Bakugou has become genuine. He's not even sure where the lie ends and the truth begins anymore. Kirishima dips his head back and laughs nervously. That's not how I would put it. Modest as ever, Kayama says fondly. She gets to her feet, high heels hitting the ground with a click. She leans in and pinches Kirishima's cheek between her thumb and her forefinger. Don't lose that spark you have, all right? I can sell the world your music on its own, but having such a personality attached doesn't hurt in the slightest. And once the two of you go on tour... She looks significantly between Amajiki and Kirishima wishes the ground would open up and swallow him whole. He just wants to be excited about the opportunity, to face Amajiki with all the excitement he should be feeling right now. Instead, it's one more thing tugging at him. He's going to be ripped in half at this rate. Anyway, Kayama says, smoothing down her dress, I'm going to make sure Shota and Hisashi are behaving themselves. You two, though, I'll see you and all your bandmates in my office first thing on Monday. We have planning to do, boys. With that, she strides off, heels clicking against the ground as she walks. Kirishima lets out a deep sigh, sinking into the seat Kayama had just vacated. Yeah, Amajiki agrees. Kayama-san never stops being overwhelming. Kirishima looks over at Amajiki, laughing again. Most of the time I find her really fun, he admits. Tonight has just been a lot, I guess. Amajiki is still looking down at his hands, thumbs nervously circling one another. I had no idea you could sing like that, he says quietly. I sing all the time, Kirishima admits. The others at the party aren't paying much attention to them at the moment, and Kirishima feels like he can talk more freely with Amajiki. But just not... I tried in the past to sing in front of crowds. I just couldn't do it. Amajiki purses his lips together like he's trying to hide a smile. And tonight was different? I wrote that song for Ashido, Kirishima tells him. We've been through so much together, and singing with her was different than being on stage alone. Amajiki nods in understanding. Going on stage still makes me nervous. What? Kirishima gapes at him. But Amajiki-san, you're Sun Eater. You're the best. What do you have to be nervous about? I know I'm skilled, Amajiki says, smile self-deprecating. But my mind works against me. I'm not strong enough to do it on my own. Kirishima huffs at him. I don't believe that. I've looked up to you for so long, Amajiki-san. And if you can get past your nervousness and still perform the way you do, that makes you even stronger to me. Now Amajiki looks up, dark eyes meeting Kirishima's. So then you're stronger than you think you are, too? Kirishima opens his mouth to object, but then snaps it closed again. Amajiki laughs a little. I hate parties, he says, changing the subject. But Mirio convinced me to come because I wanted to tell you how amazing you were tonight. Warmth surges in Kirishima's chest, burning away the hollow indecision that's been eating at him for days. Amajiki Tamaki thinks he's amazing. I really don't get it, Kirishima says. You go on tour, and you're so cool all the time. I've seen you perform. Everyone loves you. Amajiki shrugs. It's different to perform than to be around people in person like this. Even when I'm nervous, I get on stage and everyone seems far away. I can just focus on my music. Kirishima laughs. I think it's the opposite for me. I'm much better talking to people than performing for them. Amajiki smiles, tongue ring glinting, as he nervously licks over his lips. Maybe we can learn from each other then. We'll be spending a lot of time together soon. Because Kayama-san wants them to go on tour together, Sun Eater and Riot traveling around the country for months. There's so much that Kirishima could learn from Amajiki, and so much that just being around him would do for Kirishima's music and performance. But how do you do it, Amajiki-san? Kirishima demands. Tokuda-san isn't with you when you go on tour. How do you leave for so long? Amajiki blinks, a blush coloring his cheeks. He glances across the room to where Tokuda is standing with Kaminari and Ashido, laughing at something one of them has said. Amajiki's face softens when he looks at Tokuda, a warmth filling his eyes. How has no one else figured them out? Kirishima wonders. It's obvious how much Amajiki loves Tokuda. He's always waiting for me. Amajiki breathes out. Whenever I leave, I know he'll be there when I get home. He comes out to see me whenever he can, and I'm not very good without him, but he gives me the strength and he wants me to be my best. I'm not good at being optimistic and bright the way he is, the way you seem to be, Kirishima, but he helps me get there. Kirishima blinks. Of course, Amajiki and Tokuda are in a real relationship. Tokuda is Amajiki's boyfriend and will be waiting whenever Amajiki comes home. I'm scared, Kirishima admits. To leave Bakugou? Amajiki asks. He tilts his head. It isn't easy, but I think you can make it work. Mirio and I have. But what you have is real, Kirishima wants to yell. He doesn't have anything so solid to hold on to. He doesn't have something real. But could he? He needs to know how I feel before I leave, Kirishima mutters, chin pressed against his clenched fist. I can't leave him when things are still uncertain. Amajiki's hand comes down on his shoulder, giving him a tentative support pat. I think the whole world knows how you two feel, he says, not unkindly. Kirishima looks up and laughs sheepishly, but maybe it'd be more truthful to cry. Time passes. I really need to talk to you, he says, grabbing Bakugou's elbow and pulling him out of the crowd. Hey! Bakugou growls until he spots the look on Kirishima's face. Fine, asshole. Don't grab me. He yanks himself out of Kirishima's grip, striding towards one of the tall glass doors. It's off to one side, out of sight. It leads out onto a balcony, and Bakugou steps out onto it. President Mike's apartment looks out over the entire city, bright lights blinking down below them like stars. Kirishima rubs at his elbows as the cool air blows past them. Bakugou walks over to the edge of the balcony, leaning his elbows against the railing and staring out at the skyline. It was months ago now, but Kirishima is struck by the memory of the last time they were up so high together, when they stood on the rooftop at Hagakure's party, back when they were still strangers. Now, when Kirishima looks at Bakugou, he doesn't see a famous actor with a furious expression. He sees Bakugou Katsuki, a man full of vulnerability and strength. He sees the person he's come to love. You wanted to talk? Bakugou grumbles, not turning back to look at him. So talk. Is something wrong? Kirishima says, instead of the words he's been mulling over in his head for the past half hour. You don't seem happy. Bakugou shrugs. Do I ever? Yes, Kirishima says, coming up to stand beside him. Maybe not in the way other people do, but I know when you are, At least, I think I do. Bakugou turns toward him just a fraction of an angle, enough for Kirishima to see the slow arch of his brow. At the diner, Kirishima mutters, embarrassed. He scratches at the back of his head. I mean, I had a good night, and I thought you did too, but you didn't call me after, and...
Isn't that what people do after real dates?
Bakugou says blatantly. Well, yeah, but I really wanted you to call me, Bakugou. It's enough of an admission that Bakugou turns more fully towards him, red eyes reflecting the bright lights of the city. His gaze feels like the heat of a fire, close enough to burn straight through Kirishima.
You're pretty fucking brave tonight, aren't you?
He says, and Kirishima can't even begin to parse his tone.
Singing on stage in front of hundreds of people, and then telling me you expect a goddamn phone call. What happened to be too scared for all of this, huh?
So, is Bakugou scolding him or praising him? Didn't he want Kirishima to work up the guts to sing in front of a crowd? And if he wanted that, does it mean he also wants this relationship to be more than a front? I'm really confused, Kirishima admits quietly. I have been, for a while now.
I could have told you that.
It's your fault, you know? Kirishima says suddenly, throwing his hands up. You keep trying to convince everyone that you're such an asshole. But guess what? I don't believe that anymore. I know you, and I know you are better than what you want everyone to think. Bakugou blinks at him. Like this is the first time Kirishima has truly caught him off guard.
Shut the fuck up,
he says, but the heat in his words has gone from a blazing inferno to crackling embers. Why did you do it? Kirishima wants to ask. Why did you show me parts of you that no one else has seen? Why did you show me things that would make me fall in love with you? Far below them, the lights of the city twinkle in and out of existence. Everything seems far away. The entire world. Everything Kirishima has been carrying around for so long. Right now, it's just him and Bakugou. And he has to get Bakugou to listen to what he has to say. Kayama-san wants us to go on tour, he says, all in a rush. As the next step in promoting Riot, us and Sun Eater, nationwide. And that means I'd be gone for months, Bakugou. I wouldn't be able to see you, or take pictures for the press, or be your date to movie premieres. I'd have to focus on my band. Do you understand? Bakugou crosses his arms over his chest, in a way that seems almost defensive, like he's trying to shield himself.
So what? You want out?
No! Kirishima cries, more fervently than he intends. No, that's not what I want, at all. For a moment, something like doubt flickers across Bakugou's face. For a moment, he looks as open and vulnerable as he had when he'd been sick and his guard had been down. Something genuine and insecure and hopeful shines in his eyes. Bakugou, Kirishima says, taking a step forward, reaching for him. Bakugou,
I'm going to be in Aizawa's next movie.
Bakugou spits out, stepping just out of Kirishima's grasp.
That's what we were talking about before.
What? Kirishima blinks.
His production company is the artsy indie bullshit one inside the same studio Yagi works for.
Bakugou explains, words coming fast but with clinical detachment.
He does all sorts of weird shit that critics lose their goddamn minds for, and he wants me to be in his next movie.
That's great, Kirishima says, forcing a smile. I mean, if that's what you want. Bakugou shrugs, like he couldn't care less.
It's shooting on location, he mutters, on Miyakojima.
That resort island? Kirishima asks. Bakugou gives a curt nod.
It's a summer beach movie. A romance.
A summer romance doesn't sound like the special project Bakugou's been waiting for. Unless...
It's opposite another man,
Bakugou says.
The budget's shit, and the studio expects it to tank. But they'll let Aizawa do whatever the fuck he wants because it's him. So he goes and decides he's directing a summer romance with a gay couple.
The storyline you wanted, Kirishima says quietly. Bakugo, that's great. That's so great.
There's a catch.
He's looking out at the city again, hands clenched over the railing. Every muscle radiates tension, like he's choosing every word carefully. What is it? Bakugo huffs a sigh.
You probably don't know how studios work, do you?
Not really, Kirishima admits.
Figures.
Bakugo shakes his head.
They'll try to tie down big actors when they can. Give the actor a movie he wants to be in, but anchor the contract to another project the studio wants. A good role for the actor with a moneymaker for the studio.
Makes sense, Kirishima says, though he's not quite sure where Bakugo is going with this.
They're not just going to give me Aizawa's movie,
Bakugo grumbles, gnashing his teeth.
They're too sure they'll take a hit on it, and I can't do it for nothing. If I don't make them acknowledge me and who I am, the movie won't mean as much. It has to cost them something, so they'll take me seriously.
No wonder he's been brooding, Kirishima thinks. He's been trying to figure out how to make this whole thing work. So, Kirishima prompts.
So?
Bakugo seethes.
They tied Aizawa's movie to Yagi's. If I want to do the romance, I have to do the fucking blockbuster.
Because he is my hero. The script Kirishima had read at Bakugo's apartment, with Midoriya and Uraraka and Todoroki, where Bakugo will play the villain to Midoriya's hero. The film everyone has been pressuring him to do, that Bakugo has adamantly refused. Directed by the actor Bakugo so admires, but who fills him with such guilt and regret. Are you sure you want to do that? Bakugo rounds on him, eyes flashing.
I don't do anything unless I'm fucking sure,
he says so loudly and with such a heat that it's like he's trying to convince himself rather than Kirishima.
I told Sero to find another fucking way, but this is it, and I've been waiting too damn long to let this movie go. So I'll do it. I'll show them what I'm capable of. I'll show the whole damn world.
This time, when Kirishima smiles, it isn't forced. I know you will, he breathes. You're amazing, Bakugo. You're my favorite actor, you know? And not just because of the way you look or the roles you play. For a long time, I've felt close to you because of the way you act. Bakugo is looking at him, breathing heavily.
You don't fucking get it, do you?
Kirishima knocks his head to one side. Get what? Bakugo runs a hand through his hair impatiently.
It's 2 movies, back to back. The romance is going to be at least 2 months on location, and then who knows how long Yagi's movie is going to take. I'm going to be tied up for the next year.
Kirishima will be touring the country, and Bakugo will be stuck in one place shooting his movie. Would they ever be able to see each other? Maybe if they were really dating, had a real foundation to move forward from, this wouldn't matter. They could go off on their separate paths with something solid between them and return to each other when all was said and done. But when it's fake from the start, how can they hold on to it? Does Bakugo even want to? So, you got what you wanted then, Kirishima says. Does that mean you're done with me? Bakugo clicks his tongue against his teeth.
I just told you, I won't have time for fucking anything for a year. What do you expect?
I don't want to break up, Kirishima says desperately. We don't need to, do we? I mean, wouldn't that be more trouble than it's worth anyway? More drama than we want to deal with? We can just go, do the things we need to do, and it'll make sense that we aren't taking pictures together or show up places, because everyone will know you're shooting a movie and I'm on tour. No one will ask questions.
What's the fucking point then?
Bakugo starts to say. But Kirishima cuts him off, surging forward, grabbing Bakugo's face in his hands, pressing their lips together. He doesn't know how to say all that he needs to. Maybe if he had time, he could write it into a song. And maybe his feelings would reach Bakugo that way. be easier for him to understand. But right now, all he has is the surging sensation in his chest, this sense of urgency that pushes him closer and closer to Bakugou. He can't let him go, not without at least trying to convey his feelings. He kisses Bakugou for all he's worth, and after a moment, Bakugou kisses him back. He lifts a hand to fist in the back of Kirishima's shirt, and they're pressed so close together that Kirishima can feel the thunderous beat of Bakugou's heart. His lips are rough and insistent against Kirishima's, and Kirishima's kiss is desperate and thorough. Don't let this be the last time, he thinks. Please, don't let this be the last time we're together like this. They break away from each other, gasping for breath. Bakugou lifts a hand to his mouth, fingers brushing against his lips like he can still feel Kirishima's against them. I've gotten a lot of good advice lately, Kirishima says quietly, from a lot of people who know a lot more than I do. One of them told me to be selfish, to go after what I want, and I think I need to do that.
Isn't what you want to be a musician?
Bakugou asks accusatorily.
To be famous because of your music.
Bakugou, Kirishima starts to say, because Bakugou has to know. Before they leave each other, Bakugou has to know.
No.
Bakugou cuts him off, lowering his hand and looking at Kirishima with challenge in his eyes.
Don't you fucking dare. Not now. When we see each other again, tell me then.
He squares his shoulders and steps away from Kirishima, back towards the door. But Kirishima pushes forward again, grabs Bakugou around the wrist. I'm going to miss you, Kirishima says. His eyes burn as tears gather there. Bakugou, I'm going to miss you so much. Bakugou tugs his wrist out of Kirishima's grasp, then shakes his head.
Fucking idiot,
he mutters.
You're gonna be famous. People are gonna be screaming your name every night. When will you ever have the time to miss me?
I will, Kirishima insists. Fuck, he's crying. He rubs at his eyes with the back of his hands.
You're a rock star,
Bakugou reminds him. Something about his voice is far away and hollow and lonely.
Try to enjoy it.
He stalks off, back towards the party and the future he's been wanting for so long. Kirishima stands alone on the balcony, the city lights shining far below him and tears dripping slowly down his face. He sucks in a breath, wiping at the tear tracks and biting down on his lips. When I sing on tour, it'll be for you, he says quietly. Bakugou is already far away, and Kirishima doesn't know if he's heard. All right, friends, the song for the end of this chapter is the Hammond song by the Roaches, spelled Roches. I'm not sure if that's actually how you pronounce it. That's how I would assume, but I'm not positive about that. All right, but thank you guys so much for joining me for this chapter. I know this one ends off on such a kind of sad note, and gosh, the more times I read this fic, the easier it gets to me. And I knew recording this one, I needed a day where I could record a lot of episodes back to back because I can't just leave this piece here. So I'm really sorry especially if this is one that posts on a Tuesday and you don't get the next piece till Friday. I'm not sure how the dates work out, but I really hope that doesn't happen to you, so you don't have to wait too long for the next piece. Because it's getting really good. Kirishima's getting ready to go on tour, and Bakugou's getting ready to go film the movie that he's wanted to make for so long, and that's super exciting for both of them. So I hope you guys come back and join me for that next piece when we get to find out how everything is going for them. So if you guys come back and join me for that next video, I'll see you next time.